Call to order our Discover Cottage Grove, November 25th, 2025, board meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alexa, can I ask you to come up for roll call?
Director Hadbit,
Present.
Director Reese, Director Olson,
Here.
Director Grisula, present, Director Kambata, Director Levine,
Here.
and Chairman Olson.
Okay. Number 4 on our agenda today, adoption of the agenda. I'd like to ask for a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
Motion?
Second?
Second. Any discussion? Okay. And we'd like to vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay. Agenda approved. Number 5 on our agenda today is approval of today's last month's minutes. So a motion to approve last month's minutes.
Motion?
Thank you. And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? And a vote today. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Wonderful. Approval of the minutes. Our first presentation, number 6 on our agenda today, Molly, going through the holiday events in Cottage Grove.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. I'll introduce myself. My name is Molly Petrozewski. I am the Recreation Services Manager for the City of Cottage Grove, and I have the honor of sharing with you our upcoming holiday events as a city entity that we are hosting and some other organizations around town that are hosting. I have a really cool job. I get to help out and work with a lot of these groups and on these event committees to bring this up in Cottage Grove. So our first one coming up this Thursday is the Hail to the Bird 5K race. This will be held at Hamlet Park. Race begins at 9 a.m. I do believe online registration has closed, but they do take on-site registration on Thursday morning. Those who are already registered are able to pick up their race shirts and bibs on Wednesday night at Hamlet. This is our 15th anniversary of supporting the Hail to the Bird race, which then donates money to the holiday train, which then that money goes back to Friends in Need Food Shelf. So this is a huge part of our goal for the holiday train committee supporting the food shelf. This year, like it says, is the 15th anniversary of this race. I talked with organizers yesterday and they're on track for about 600 people signed up for this Thursday at Hamlet. So we'd love to see more people come on out and support this great cause. Holiday Lights Home Tour, we opened early this year. The Lights map is live on the city's website. It opened November 12th. So if you are planning a big display, have one, or know your neighbor's address, you can go on to the city's website and feel free to add that address on there. It does create a live interactive map then that you guys can go out with your families at night. Like we were talking earlier, you might have to make 2 nights out of it. It sounds like there's already like 25 houses signed up. So a great opportunity to get out this winter as it's coming tonight and find something kind of free and cheap to do in Cottage Grove, a great family tradition to start for sure. Hometown Holiday is scheduled for next Thursday. Sounds like we're going to have snow on the ground, hopefully for that too. As you can see, previous years, it's been a little green still out there. So the event is held next Thursday here at City Hall from 5 to 7 p.m. A great free family event. Everything's lit outside, a great trail with blow-ups to walk on. Santa and Mrs. Claus will be here on the big chair for photos. We do offer wagon rides from the Hero Center and the Washington County Service Building up to the driveway here of City Hall. Live reindeer games and activities for kids. Food trucks will be out there selling food. There is a warming tent for you then to eat in. And the Park High School Choir will be walking around performing inside and outside. Typically, this is a great family event. We got the bonfire pits going, free cider and cookies. So we invite all of the community to come on out and kind of start your holiday season next week with us. River Oaks Santa Breakfast is scheduled for December 21st, 9 a.m. to noon. I did check in with Denny Dunn at River Oaks, and reservations are about 70% full. So you do have to call to make that reservation. We encourage people to do that sooner or later. If this is something you want to get on your calendar, as once spots are full, there's no opportunity to kind of add more. It's a great chance to do photos with Santa, sleigh rides around the golf course, and then enjoy what they're calling a North Pole breakfast menu right in the banquet room there at River Oaks. Another great family tradition I know a lot of families have done for years. Since my boys were little too, we've always done it and been a part of it. So again, encourage people to make reservations ASAP. Even if you have to leave a message over the holiday week this week, be sure to do that, and they do keep track and get you signed up in order. Then kind of the big culmination of something that I work on and I'm a part of is the CPKC holiday train coming to town. We were fortunate enough to get a Saturday trip this year, so Saturday, December 13th. Our goal this year is $125,000 to raise for the food shelf, and we are well on track to make that goal happen. The road closes at 3 p.m. Wagons start at 3:30. So as of 3:30 p.m., the site will be live and open. A couple of activities, food trucks. There's a Remax warming tent. The Remax hot air balloon is there. The train arrives at 5:15. And then it does take about 15 minutes for them to kind of set the stage and for the stage to open. At 5:30, then they perform a handful of songs for about a half hour. There is the check presentation from CPKC, and then the train kind of closes up and they pull away. I recommend staying for the whole thing. The coming in and the leaving are probably the two coolest parts you're going to see. So again, we encourage people to get there early. Same kind of setup. We do provide wagon rides from the park and ride down the road. Otherwise, at the other end of the town, the armory is open, and then you'll just have to walk down to the event. Our musicians this year are the American Authors in Pink Beard, are the two musicians that we got this year. As some of you may know, there are two trains. One goes through Canada and one through North America, and then the providers or the musicians kind of alternate out. So we've got some great ones this year for our event. And then we just like to remind people that although recreation is sometimes kind of focused on the summer, we encourage you to get out and play. Our Parks Department and Public Works does a great job keeping parking lots clear, keeping trails and sidewalks clear around our parks in the summer. My assistant Noah is working on getting warming houses staffed and opened. The goal is for those, provided we have ice and snow, would be the day after Christmas. Again, with the skating rink, same thing. Cross-country skiing this year is hoping that the trails will be groomed down at River Oaks. There are cross-country skiing trails down there. And also this year, we are using our snowshoes again out in the public. So for those of you who don't know, we kind of use our kayak rental trailer and build the back of it, and then we rent snowshoes out of those. I believe those will once again be at Oakwood Park this winter. See, even I say summer. The kayak trailer will be at Oakwood with the snowshoes. Just a few other festive happenings in Cottage Grove that we wanted to make sure we mention is the Minnesota Christmas Market held at the Madison on November 29th. The 8th annual Craft and Gift Market held at Cottage Grove Middle School on December 6th. And the Cottage Grove Lions Breakfast I know is a big tradition around here too, and that one is December 7th, held at the VFW Red Barn. And I believe that is all we have, and I can definitely stand for any questions that anybody might have about upcoming holiday events.
Thank you, Molly. So exciting to be a
Yes.
part of that. I'm a part of the holiday train committee, and that's, hopefully the weather will be really nice and comfortable with a little bit of snow on the ground. So
That'd be
any questions for Molly at any of the events?
Yes, Eric.
Molly, I have a question. The holiday train, great event, $125,000 goal, that's a lofty goal, a lot of money. For perspective,
'Kay.
roughly, do you know last year for '24, what we all raised?
I do. The last couple of years, we've been over the $200,000 mark that we've been able to donate to Friends in Need Food Shelf. We like to set an achievable goal, so
no, yes.
our goal has been 100,000, so we've upped it this year. And we are on track to make that as well. The kind of the heartwarming part of this year, looking at it last week at our meeting, it has been a lot of personal donations this year, which we haven't seen in years past, but a few big and, just medium-sized personal donations from residents in the city kind of touched all of us last week. Usually there's those big name businesses, but lots of personal donations coming in this year so far.
Compliments to you and your staff.
Awesome.
That's a nice amount of money.
Yeah, I will definitely pass that along at our next meeting for
And then
sure.
last question,
Yeah.
the warming house, the park and rec, wonderful hours. Where would someone find that? Is there a website? I'm guessing it's Park and Rec.
Yep, so on the City of Cottage Grove website under recreation and then warming houses, all of the sites are listed on there.
Okay.
So traditionally weekdays, all of our, so we host at 8 different sites. So you're gonna find one in your community or your neighborhood where you live. Most of the buildings are open by 3 a.m. Staff starts shutting them about 9 p.m. Weekends are about 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. as well. So we have some pretty good consistent hours encouraging people to get out to use the trails, the sledding hills, the skating rink, and then bop in if you need to, use the bathrooms, restrooms, warm up, drinking fountains, all of that. The park buildings are open for use.
Free of charge.
Free of charge, yep. Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Molly? I'll make one last mention
Yeah.
that Small Business Saturday is also November 29th, so make sure you're shopping local that day.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays. We'll see you about.
Thank you. Number 7 on our agenda, business items, our 2025 Food Truck Festival recap. Jeannie Mann.
Thank you, members of the board. Well, I'm here to talk about all the great things that happened this year at the Cottage Grove Food Truck Festival that happened September 13th at Kingston Park. So we planned on 35 food trucks. We had 35 food trucks that registered with us. We did unfortunately have one that broke down on the way to the event. So we ended up having 34 trucks in the parking lot, which we think is kind of about the right size for our event moving forward. On the screen in front of you, you can see the list of food trucks that participated. They offered great food throughout the day. There were long lines at all of them, so we figure it was about a success. We're estimating, obviously, it's not an exact science to estimate how many people attended the event because you have so many entrances and so many people coming and going. We're estimating between 13,000 and 15,000 people attended this year. So we're really happy with the turnout and heard some great feedback from our food trucks. We did bring in about we brought in $14,000 in revenue from food truck registrations. We also support the event with sponsorships. On your screen, you can see the list of sponsors. We had both paid and in-kind sponsors. Our goal this year was to get about $8,000 in sponsorships, and we came in at $6,500 in paid sponsorships. We also had our marketplace for the second time this year. We had a goal of 15 vendors participating. Last year, we had 17 vendors in our marketplace. We ended up with 27 total marketplace booths. So we were happily surprised with the increase in marketplace vendors this year. We heard great feedback from them as well, and we brought in about $3,000 from the marketplace vendors. There were many other things going on at the Food Truck Festival as well. Strawberry Fest Ambassadors hosted some carnival games for us for part of the event. We had our bounce houses, the Lions Club sponsored the beer tent. We had live music, which was Basic and Boring and Revved Up came back. They were here our first year and they came back for our third year. And then we had our Discover Cottage Grove booth where some of you helped us hand out a bunch of swag and talk to a bunch of people at the event. All in all, it turned out to be a fantastic day. and fantastic numbers when we wrapped up. Once all the revenue came in and all the expenses were paid, we were estimating we would make about $2,900 at the event, and we came in just over $4,900 in profit from the event. And that money gets rolled back into the CVB budget to pay for additional marketing activities throughout the year too. So with that, I would be happy to stand for any questions.
Any questions or comments for Jean?
How many vendors do we look for the market vendors? I mean, how many can apply, or how many can, I guess, how much room do we have for that?
Director Hoppett, we don't have a cap on the number of vendors that we would take. We have a great big open field where we could place a bunch of marketplace vendors. So we reach out, and Becca did a great job of finding new vendors to come in this year as well. So we're always hoping people spread the word and kind of share that we're looking for marketplace vendors. But we have no cap on what we could take at this point. Maybe it'll get too big one year where we might have to cap it, but.
And I'll add to that, I know the marketplace was fantastic. We as the Cottage Grove Chamber were there, and we had a lot of chamber members mentioning, oh, I wish I would have known about this, I wish there was other businesses. So I think that could really grow in that area. It was a fantastic day.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. If I recall, weren't the hours tweaked this year? Maybe an hour, we hedged an hour here and there, open, close. Is that true? And then how is that accepted?
Director Olson, yes, we did. Last year we went until 7 p.m. and for vendors cleaning up, it was dark in the park without a whole bunch of lights for them to see. So we did shorten the hours. We went back to our initial hours that we did our first year, and we closed at 6. Open time was still the same at 11 a.m., but we closed at 6 p.m. It seemed to be well received by vendors. The first year, I heard a couple people ask if we could do longer, which is why we extended the hours. But I think once people realize it gets dark early in September, I heard no issues with closing at 6 p.m. this year.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. Next is our 2026 Visitors Guide with Brittany.
Good morning, members of the board. I'm excited to share the visitor guide with you today. It is currently in its draft state, but you do have a copy in front of you, so if you want to flip through it and kind of look at what we'll be talking about. So as you know, the CVB's overall mission is to promote Cottage Grove as a premier destination for travelers, weddings, and outdoor enthusiasts. We also focus on recognizing Cottage Grove as a host city for meetings, conventions, and sporting events. For the 2026 Visitor Guide, we kept the CVB's mission, as well as our findings with our strategic partner, Chandler Thanks, at the forefront when planning the content for the guide. We are currently undergoing a website rebrand, and Phil will talk a little bit more on that when I'm finished. But part of that rebrand consisted of solidifying our brand guidelines for Discover Cottage Grove. This ensures consistency and it creates an identity for Discover Cottage Grove. And as you can see, not a whole lot has changed. We have the same logo. We're using a similar color palette, similar fonts, but it more so was put in place to define what the brand is, and that helped our website designer kind of follow those guidelines when she was creating the website. So when thinking about what we were going to put in this year's visitor guide, we thought we asked ourselves, what makes Cottage Grove unique? What are our strengths? Why do people come here? And so the guide is thoughtfully designed in a way that people will find our strengths in the beginning of the guide. We offer top attractions. I think it is on like page 3 or 4. We have sample itineraries, so when people are here, they can look at that and get ideas of what to do when they're here. We made it personal. This year, it is all our people's faces, our places. We used photos that we took as staff. We used photos from photo contests that residents submitted, and visitors, I should say. We used photos from our businesses, so that just made it a little more personal that we aren't using stock photography. These are our places and our people. Our articles are actionable. Readers have ready-made itineraries for their visit, like I mentioned, a list of top attractions, and then easy-to-use resourceful information. We strip down kind of the information they don't need and direct them straight to the source, the business's website, or if you need to contact them via phone number, we have included that. And then new this year are scannable QR codes that direct readers to booking links, business directories, blog articles, and more. With our new website, we wanted to make sure that we were directing people to relevant information. The information is, we update website daily. With a print article, you don't always get the most up-to-date information, and so we made sure that with the scannable QR codes, you can go direct to the time-sensitive information. This year, we focused on the structure and the flow of the guide. We strategically placed top attractions and itineraries at the beginning, like I had mentioned before. We also implemented the new brand guidelines and applied the correct fonts and colors. This kind of unifies the website with the visitor guide and all of our other marketing materials. This year, we do have a longer guide as well. I believe I added about 8 pages, so a lot more content. But we chose a paperweight that is lighter, so that cost savings actually makes up for those 8 pages. So we're spending about the same that we did last year. And I do want to mention, we aren't losing paper quality, it's just a different material. And I do have a sample if you guys would like to take a look later too. And then the paper type chosen closely aligns with what other visitor bureaus are doing too. So part of my process when I design is I just take 50 to 100 printed materials, usually visitor guides, and I just flip through them and I look at them and I kind of take it all in like a sponge. And I was noticing that more of the visitor guides are more of like a magazine type of material. So the paper we chose is in between what we did the previous years and then like a thin magazine material. And I want to mention too, it's easier to roll up, fold it, stick it in your purse, your pocket when you're traveling, so that makes it more functional as well, not as heavy. Yeah. So the guide is a full color, 24 pages plus cover. This year we've confirmed 6 ad placements for a total of $3,010. Quotes were submitted by 2 local print companies, and pricing is based on quantities of 6,000, 7,000, and 8,000. Last year, we ordered 7,000 booklets, and we have a handful of guides left until 2026 edition in case we have any welcome centers ordering boxes or residents or visitors ordering guides. So with that, a recommendation is in front of you, and I would be happy to stand for any questions regarding the design or the pricing of the 2026 visitor guide.
Well, Courtney, I'll start by saying once again, this is just beautiful. It's just a beautiful magazine and so well thought out. I can't wait to see it in real life. So any questions? We'll open it up for questions or comments.
I really like the personalized photography, and I had one question. I noticed we make reference to a few attractions that aren't within Cottage Grove. Do we have any kind of partnership with like Afton, for example, to get featured in their guide?
Yes, thank you for your question, Director Grasula. Afton Apple did purchase an ad placement. So anywhere that you do see like a logo, contact information, more bulky content for that business, it is an ad placement. So they did purchase one this year, and they have been in previous editions in the past. I know in the back of the guide, I have recommendations for people to kind of travel outside of Cottage Grove, but still come back to us, of course. And those are not paid, but it's more so of like a recommendation, like, hey, we're only 20 minutes from the Mall of America. Like, you could stay here and then pop over to Mall of America, but we're a much calmer, slower city. And so, yeah, that's just like to give examples of like what they can do when they're here.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
I'll make a comment. I've noticed, and I like this, the print quotes, you obtain 2 quotes. They're local. I see a Cottage Grove letterhead address, which I like, and also the physical printing of it looks like it's in the Southeast Metro, which is also, I think, important to know. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for commenting that.
Thank you. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to approve quote for the printing of 7,000 copies of the 2026 Visitor's Guide through Graphic Design, Inc. for $6,286.
Motion?
All right. And a second?
Second?
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion approved for the 2026 Visitor's Guide. Thank you. So, website rebrand. So the CVB website redesign update is going to be Phil.
Chair Levine, members of the board, good morning. My name is Phil Jentz, the city's communications manager, and happy to stand before you to give you a quick, brief update about the website rebrand. As you all certainly know and recall, we've talked about the website a couple times before over the summer, and its need to undergo a design refresh. Courtney helpfully mentioned the branding guidelines that we have established. And so the website redesign, in addition to giving it a refresh, will hopefully also achieve kind of branding consistencies across products that we create, social media, the visitor guide, and the website, all kind of living as one branded ecosystem, if you will. And so we're excited about the website rebrand, and want to just give you a quick kind of background where we've been and where we're at. So that website redesign is currently in progress. Staff received an early draft of that website redesign on about October 22nd. Staff met and comprised a lengthy list of edits and revisions that we wanted made, which is not unusual. I mean, you want to get this right. And when the city enterprise, Maine, cottagegrovemn.gov, went through a recent rebrand and redesign, same thing happened, right? You get a bunch of different versions, and staff kind of goes to the drawing board and creates a long list of edits and revisions. Because again, if you're going to do it, you want to do it well and get it right. And so we provided a list of edits as well as what we're calling a wireframe, so basically a visual representation of all of those edits, so that both in language and visual, that as our designer can see what it is that we're looking for, so that it's as easier to kind of drag and drop images into what we are hoping to get done, which is exciting. Those revisions were provided about October 30th, and they're being worked through kind of as we speak. So we're waiting on that next round of revisions to be incorporated into the new design. And as we have planned all along, and I'm sure I have mentioned, that before anything goes live, we would of course seek kind of final board feedback and blessing on that substantially complete, if not fully completed, website redesign. So that could look a few different ways. A future workshop at a regularly scheduled board meeting, a special meeting that maybe we schedule and held virtually or in person. Heck, it could even be over email if that was sufficient. But either way, we would not want to go live on a new website before you all have a chance to see it and approve it and provide feedback. Same with the visitor guide, right? We wouldn't print it and send it out into the wild without you all seeing it and approving it. And so we are looking forward to that future date where you see the full completed redesign and provide us your feedback before we go live on that. With that, happy to stand for any questions on that.
Any questions on the website redesign? I'm excited to see it. I can't wait. Do we have an idea of when that date will be? Is it something that are we weeks or months away?
Chair Levine, members of the board, good question. I think initially we had hoped to have the website, done and ready to go live by the end of the year. I do still think that is achievable. Having said that, it all kind of depends on what we all decide is the best way to get your final feedback from the board. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting is in February. And so again, you want to do this and do it right. And perhaps the cleanest, easiest way to get your feedback is in a workshop setting at that meeting. But I also recognize that's in February. And if we do want something sooner than that, I think that's achievable, at which point we'd have to just kind of figure out, do we want to schedule a special virtual meeting, which is something we could possibly do, and get your feedback before then. I'm open to suggestions. I think all of us would love to have it go live sooner rather than later, but also recognizing that, we want your meaningful feedback as a part of that process too.
All right, any suggestions on that? No? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So next, we'll move on to the Minnesota Department of Revenue Lodging Tax Collections and Rentalscape software update.
Thank you, Chair Levine and members of the board. While that title is a mouthful, I recognize that. It is still interesting information that I thought it would be good for the board to hear an update. You've heard me mention before that the Minnesota Department of Revenue was going to be conducting lodging tax collections on behalf of the city. And you've also heard me mention before that we've engaged with Deckard Technologies utilizing the Rentalscape software, both of which are in place now. So the Department of Revenue is collecting lodging tax collections on behalf of the city of Cottage Grove, and the Rentalscape software is up and running and our staff has been using it. So again, thought it would be prudent to provide you all with an update on how that's going. So as a background, Department of Revenue lodging tax collections began in July of this year. And we are monitoring that closely. We want to make sure that lodging tax collections are coming in as we would expect them to be, that they're meeting projections, if not exceeding them. And so far, that is the case. We're seeing that lodging tax collections are coming in as expected, if not maybe a touch higher than we would have thought, which is, of course, a good sign. And it's also important to note that the collections do lag a little bit, which was expected. When we explored this scenario, we worked with other communities who have also done Department of Revenue lodging tax collections. And they reported that they experience about a 40-day lag, which does kind of follow some logic, right? So the property submits their lodging tax collections to the state then receives them, and then the state then disperses them to a city. And all of that takes a little bit of time. So that's not unexpected, that is what we expected going in. But nevertheless, as future lodging tax collections updates happen at the board level, know that that's the case, that those just fall behind about 40 days. In 2025 Q3, which future on the agenda this morning, you're going to get an update from me on those collections. We're seeing that 2-month average does appear to be coming in slightly higher than a 2-month average from 2024. So again, staff wanted to monitor very closely how these lodging tax collections are going. We didn't have any reason to believe they wouldn't come in, quote unquote, normally, but trust but verify, right? And so we're seeing that tax collections are coming in as we would expect, and maybe even a touch higher, which is good to see. And then on to Rentalscape software. So this is a software that goes out and identifies short-term rental, long-term rental properties out in the world, and making sure that the city is aware of our rental properties out in the community. As you probably know, many communities experience short-term rentals that exist out in the community. They're being, advertised on Airbnb and VRBO and other such websites. And sometimes cities aren't aware that those properties exist. And sometimes those properties are not licensed properly. And so the city thought it a good idea to make sure that we have a good understanding of what exists out in our community to ensure that those are, inspected properly, that they're held to safety and code requirements and licensure requirements. So to date, staff is finding that Rentalscape has identified 11 licensed short-term rental properties in Cottage Grove, 10 unlicensed short-term rental properties, and 22 total unlicensed properties, which could include long-term rental properties. And so as a result, the city's code compliance officer is going to soon be sending compliance letters to those properties that are unlicensed to ensure that they're coming into compliance. Just one note on that. Ideally, you would see everyone compliant and licensed properly, and of course, remitting lodging tax collections. It's yet to be clear how moving forward this might or might not impact lodging tax collections. Just because a property is not licensed doesn't necessarily mean they're not remitting lodging tax collections to the state. So it's good to have an early understanding of what Rentalscape is finding out there. And good that our code compliance officer will be getting folks into compliance. We'll also be then looking at, does that have any impact on our lodging tax collections? I.e., does it go up because people are now coming into compliance? So that's kind of the next step in this software. With that, stand for any questions you may have.
Open up to the board for questions or comments, Phil?
The last slide you had 10 unlicensed and totally 22 completely unlicensed. What's the difference between those numbers?
Chair Levine, Director Reese, that's a good question. So the 10 unlicensed short-term rental properties, those would be what I would consider like a your Airbnb or VRBO. The 22 total unlicensed properties could include like long-term rentals. So, we'll call it traditional landlord renting out their property to somebody under a lease agreement for month to month or year or whatever that might be. That doesn't necessarily have much, if any, impact to lodging tax collections, but it's still important for our staff to know that so that they are licensed and inspected and held to the same standards as everyone else.
Thank you.
Sorry, now I have the question. What defines a short-term rental that would make it eligible for lodging tax versus a long-term rental?
Chair Levine, Director Grasula, that is an excellent question, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to come up with the exact correct answer off the top of my head. And I'll look to maybe City Administrator Levitt if she knows, but it's a determination of, how long the stay is. And I don't want to speak out of turn of what that cutoff is, like 30 days, 45 days, whatever it is, but that is a good question.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I believe the code reads 30 days. So if it's over 30 days contiguous stay, you're then into a long-term. If it's less than 30 days, it's a short-term rental.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to the 2025 Q3 lodging tax and revenue collection.
Chair Levine, members of the board, again, thank you. You're hearing a lot from me this morning, so for better or worse, here I am. And so the Q3, as I mentioned, lodging tax and revenue collection update we have before you. And so Minnesota Department of Revenue collecting our lodging taxes on behalf of the city. So far in Q3, we are seeing those coming in at $15,392, which, as I stated earlier, is about what we would expect to see in a Q3 lodging tax collections, and perhaps even a touch higher than a 2-month average when compared to 2024. So, that was a pretty key important thing for us to look at, again, are those collections coming in as we would expect. Before I move on to questions, I did want to note the projected Q3 lodging tax collections in the previously approved budget was $18,000. So the Q3 number that you see before you, I mentioned that lag time that we experience. September's lodging tax collections, the city has not received yet because of that lag time. And so we would expect to see that collection come in before the end of this year yet, which of course then the number that you see before you will go up once we get those. And so, we are confident that the Q3 lodging tax collections will meet or exceed our projected amount that we would have expected to see. Year to date, we're sitting at about $62,955 in lodging tax collections, which I thought both numbers were important for you all to know.
Thank you for clarifying. That totally makes sense. Open it up for any questions or comments on that topic? Nothing? Oh, Director Reese?
Do you have the, sorry if I'm not saying it, year over year or comparison?
Chair Levine, Director Reese, I do not have that information immediately in front of me, but I would be happy to follow up.
Okay, anything else? All right. We will move on to the 2026 final budget approval, also with Phil.
Chair Levine, members of the board, thank you again. Last and certainly not least is the budget approval for 2026. So the 2026 final budget is before you in your packet, as is the full 2026 final budget worksheet. So I'll not bore you with reading, that entire spreadsheet, but, I would happily do so if you wish. But I'm sure maybe you have, other things to consider as you move on for the rest of your day. At any rate, as you also just heard, lodging tax projections for 2026 are similar to other years. We base that on a 63% occupancy rate, which gets us in at around $71,500 a year for lodging tax projections. Visitor guide ad sales come in at $4,500. And as we just discussed, or as you just heard earlier this morning, the Food Truck Festival is a pretty big premier event for the city of Cottage Grove and the CVB, which is coming in at $15,900 in marketplace vendor payments and $8,000 from sponsorships. And then you've heard me discuss before, but new this year is the Explore Minnesota Tourism Grant. So Discover Cottage Grove was successful in getting a $2,000 grant from Explore Minnesota, which we will use towards advertising on social media and online for things like the Food Truck Festival and other kind of summertime food things to market. Also similar to other years, we have our expenses broken out in marketing categories and operational categories. So again, I won't bore you by reading all of the numbers on this screen, but you have them before you and in your packet. And the total marketing expenses for the 2026 budget comes in at $56,369.36 for things like, as you see, website hosting, printing, marketing, et cetera. And then under operations, for things such as portions of a communications specialist salary, postage, dues and subscriptions, and so on and so forth, operating expenses come in at $52,680.63. Finally, the 2026 final budget total revenue projections come in at $101,950. Expenses come in at $109,449.99, which shows a $7,499.98 overall loss. Quick note on that, an important note on that final number, that will be reconciled with either remaining fund balance, which currently is at $65,440, or expenditure reductions. I should say and/or, either covering with the fund balance and/or expenditure reductions. So with that, there is a recommendation before you, and I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Okay, open up for questions or comments. Okay, with that, then I'll ask for a motion to approve the Cottage Grove Convention and Visitors Bureau 2026 final budget.
Motion to approve.
And ask for a second.
Second?
Thank you. With that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And motion approved. Wonderful. Thank you for all of that. So number 8 on our today's agenda is workshop. We do not have any workshop today. And number 9, any last comments from the board? Okay. Oh, yep. Director Reese.
I like the idea of having a workshop over a website. If there's a way we could do something virtually. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
I like the idea of doing a virtual workshop to be able to go through the website, of being able to take an hour to do so. I think it'd be good for us to know the functionality, and if there's anything that we as a board could look at and say, oh, that works great, that doesn't work great. I'd love to do that.
Thank you. I'm also open to that. Everybody else approve? Okay. Yeah, so, great. Thank you so much. Our next meeting is Tuesday, February 24th in 2026. And then last on our agenda, number 10 is adjournment. So I will ask for a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Motion?
And a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Today's meeting is adjourned. Thank you.